Brett. Good morning. Mr. Mike Seeklander. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Somebody gave me an angry face. Morning, Brett. How's the volume? My lovely bride has joined us. Good morning. Volume okay, guys? Before I get started. Got a lot of stuff to cover this morning, so I won't dilly-dally too much. Get some coffee and get you on your way. How is the volume, guys? I'm assuming it's good because I did a test this morning and I can see your comments. Yep. All right, we're good. Okay, I am going to roll because guess what? Right after this, I believe my old buddy and pal, my partner in crime for almost 30 years, Mr. Mike Seeklander, is going to be going live, and you're definitely going to want to check that out. Still going live, I believe. Correct, Mr. Mike Seeklander? You're going live here at 7 o'clock. So I got 28 minutes, if that's still the plan. So let's do this. Let me introduce myself. My name is Rich Brown. Welcome to Coffee with Rich. And I'm the co-host of the American Warrior Show, America's #1 self-defense podcast, and the co-founder of the American Warrior Society, which is a membership site. You definitely need to check that out, AmericanWarriorSociety.com. All right, cool. So like and share this, comment, please. I encourage that. And if you're a coin member, let me know what your coin number is, man. I really appreciate that. And I'd like to know where you're from, too. It kind of helps me. We've had people join us from all over the place, and I'm always excited about that. Let's talk about the coffee I'm having this morning. I actually brought over for you so I can show you Pete's Narissimo. And these little capsules, it's not like a Keurig. This is an espresso, and it's specifically made to fit in an espresso pod, a little machine made by DeLonghi, an espresso. It's amazing, good coffee. And I'm drinking it out of, this isn't an AWS coffee cup this morning, folks. This is a Ferrari coffee cup. Got this in Rome with my lovely bride a few months ago. I thought it was pretty cool for, I think it was 10 euros. Might as well take it home. All right. I also want to say that, last week we had 40 people on watching Coffee with Rich live. If we hit 50, this is the Gen 1 American Warrior Society tumbler. I've still got just a handful of these left. And if we hit 50, I will randomly select, actually I won't, the computer will randomly select someone who commented on today's show, and I will ship a tumbler to you. I'll let you know. I'll let you know who you are, and then I'll get with you, and we'll get your mailing address and send it to you. So please comment, like, and share, and that way you'll be entered to win. Okay, so let's talk about the article, because every day, every Friday morning at 6:30, Coffee with Rich, we talk about a few different things. First one I want to talk to you about is going to be an article that you need to check out on the AmericanWarriorSociety.com. Now, once again, all the articles are absolutely free. And this one is True Crime Ramblings of a Street Cop and How to Avoid Being a Victim. And it's a really good article, and it's written anonymously. And to be honest with you, I curate all the content of our authors, and I can't even remember who wrote this, so it is anonymous. And he gives you 4 simple things, and he gives you some anecdotal evidence. This author gives you some statistical evidence on why these 4 things, if you don't do these 4 things, you're probably not going to be a victim, and you're probably not going to get arrested either. So the first one is, don't be I'm going to keep this kid friendly. You fill in that blank. Number 2, don't steal other people's stuff. Number 3, don't do drugs. Number 4, don't pick up prostitutes. Now, these sound like 4 simple things, and this anonymous author assures us statistically and with some pretty funny anecdotal stuff that if you do those 4 things, probably not going to get arrested, probably not going to be a victim of crime. Let's see who's on here real quick this morning. Brett says the volume's good. Let's see. Oh, my sister-in-law, Miss Lydia, has joined us this morning. Good morning. Miles, good morning, sir, from Colorado. Coin number 1550. The Donald Rutledge, good morning, sir. Oh, Wendy Bowman. We actually got married back in the 70s. That's a long story. When did I tell you about that? Mr. Alan Kelly, Elkie Monroe, Aaron Davis. Aaron Davis, let me get real quick. I don't have this on the thing, but Aaron Davis and some of his brothers have put together an amazing podcast called Evolution Security Podcast, and they invited me to be on their show recently, and I was honored to do that. So I encourage you to hit the subscribe button on your Apple device and subscribe to Evolution Security Podcast. You will not regret it. And you can learn a little bit more about your favorite co-host, Mr. Rich Brown. So now let's keep rolling. The other thing I want to talk to you about is show number 136, Law of Self-Defense Q&A with Mr. Andrew Branca. And that was one of our top 10 shows that we've ever aired. And we invited our members to ask Andrew Branca questions, and then he answered them live on our podcast. So if you want to get the facts from the guy that literally wrote the book, The Law of Self-Defense, he's going to answer your self-defense questions and tell you how to not only be harder to kill, but be harder to convict. And that's very important. Alan Kelly, number 157. Wow, got a lot of people on this morning. Again, if we hit 50 folks, you're going to get a Gen 1. Well, somebody will win a Gen 1 tumbler. I wish it was me, but we got Justin from Dallas, Fort Worth. Elkie says, don't drink and drive. Ooh, that's a good segue. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Yeah, Robert's on. Good morning, Robert. I think you're up in Kentucky. Brett says we hit 30. What's funny is I can't see the number of people on. Well, yes, I can. It's up in the corner. Okay. So we talked about the article. We talked about the podcast. And as you know, every morning I got a gadget for you. And the gadget this morning is going to require me to tell you a little bit of a story. And the story is this. Does anybody remember what the first viral video was, at least in my lifetime, probably ever? It occurred on March the 3rd, 1991. Now, what's interesting about that date, and it really didn't occur to me till I was preparing for this morning's show, is that March the 3rd, 1991, there was a video aired on CNN. It was the Rodney King incident. And if you're of a particular age, you're going to remember the Rodney King incident. And the reason I think that this video went viral was it comes right on the tail end of Desert Shield, Desert Storm's over. You've got everybody in America's watching CNN and all these 24-hour news companies that really took advantage of the air war and the ground war in the desert to gain a lot of viewership. So now all of a sudden you've already got eyes locked in onto this thing called CNN, and then this video shot by Mr. George Holliday comes out, and it's got everybody captivated. But what you don't see in that video is that the first 10 seconds of that video was edited. I think it was KLTA actually cut out the first 10 seconds, which provided context for everything that would come afterward. And we all know what came afterward. It looked pretty bad. It was the baton strikes that were used to subdue Mr. Rodney King. And that's what we're going to talk about this morning, impact weapons. Impact weapons. So put your seatbelt on. Where are we at right now? We're up to 34. Fantastic. Let me know if we hit 50 folks, and we'll be giving away a Gen 1 tumbler. Okay, so here's the deal. There were 3 people in the car that night that Mr. Rodney King was subdued in a rather aggressive and violent manner. And they were Bryant Allen and George Holmes. Now, these 2 men, you've probably never heard those names before. The reason you never heard those names before is they complied with the officer's instructions. They got out on the ground. They proned out. Now, I believe one of them said that he was struck in the head and there was some blood on his ball cap, and he actually did have to, I don't know if he went to the hospital for that laceration or what, but the bottom line is both of those gentlemen complied and they were relatively unharmed. We'll leave it at that. So much so that nothing was ever brought up in court at their trial. Another thing is that those officers were acquitted of their use of force on Rodney King. But the legacy of Rodney King has lived with us to today if you're in law enforcement. And I know that when I became a law enforcement officer in the mid-90s, that was definitely on our mind. We learned a lot about it at the academy. And even though that the baton strikes, most of them, if not all of them, I believe, were lawful or in keeping with the use of force policy of LAPD at the time, that's why they were acquitted. And when they showed the video to the jury and they got to see the first 10 seconds that provided the context, they said that was the key to the acquittal. But of course, you and I didn't get to see that part, did we? So impact weapons. Now here's the deal. You got batons, saps, truncheons, whips. And whips is kind of what we're going to talk about this morning. Basically, an impact weapon it could be anything that you use to disable or cause temporary damage or temporary motor dysfunction. You're trying to, it's a pain compliance maybe. We'll look at it that way. Now, this is the Fast Strike 2. This is their Gen 2 model. I don't know if you can see this. Got a clip. And Dave Duford, sir, I hope I'm maybe mispronouncing your name. Dave Duford, I believe is his name. He sent me one of these to try out. Here's the deal. I'm not a fan of impact weapons. Your old buddy Rich Brown, he's never been a fan of impact weapons because of the Rodney King incident. I think that if you are forced to use an impact weapon, and this is a whip, we could make a distinction and say, well, Rich, technically, by the letter of the law, this guy's maybe not an impact weapon. Good luck arguing that distinction in court. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, but I want to say up front that I've never struck anybody with a baton. I was ASP certified. Those are the collapsible metal batons. I was PR24 certified and certified with a long straight baton. PR24 is a personal restraint 24-inch. We'll talk about that on another show. Looks like an Okinawan tonfa. Certified with all these things, but I never used them because they just look vicious. Even when they're applied correctly, even when your use of force is reasonable, lawful, proportional, justified, all this other stuff, it's probably not gonna look real good. So let me take a break before I give you all the specs on this guy, how you use it, why you might want to use it. Let's take a look at the comments. Good morning, Rich. Mr. Noel Rich is on. Old Marine buddy of mine. Good morning, sir. James Vick, good morning. Don't forget to like, share. Thank you, Mike. And then join Mike Seeklander for AR reloads and transitions at 7 o'clock. So I got about 15 minutes and I need to get off here so you guys can join Mr. Mike Seeklander. We're at 34 viewers right now. Like, share if we get 15 more. Somebody's getting the old Gen 1 tumbler, and I think there's only 7 left in existence. So you definitely want to do that. So make sure you comment so that you can be in for it. So let's talk about this guy, the Fast Strike Gen 2. 17 inches long, 3 ounces, extremely light. Reinforced stainless steel. It actually has there's a way that you can adjust the tension on the cable. If you use it, the tension may come out a little bit. That's okay. One of the other neat fixtures is how you can carry this guy. It has a hole right here. So you can put this in your back pocket. You can actually pick these up on Amazon, the Fast Strike 2. It has a pommel right here that you could strike with. And let me tell you something, this thing is incredibly fast. I use it on my Bob, Century Martial Arts, the body opponent bag. And if you want one of those, check out AmericanWarriorShow.com. And we got a discount code for you so you can get some money off your body opponent bag. When I beat the crap out of old Bob with this guy right here, let me tell you something. I would not want to be on the receiving end of this. It's got a metal tip. And when that thing swings at you, let me tell you something, it's absolutely brutal. One of the ways you can carry this is actually you can slide it down your trousers, tip down. You can carry this in the appendix position. using that right there, or the 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever. It doesn't, it's not discomfortable. I did it all day yesterday just to try it out, make sure that it would be good to go. And it comes out pretty fast. So it is concealable. And remember, it's not a baton. And I say that because that's an important distinction. Words have meaning, and the law regards batons in a certain light and whips in a certain light. And the TSA does not really govern whips. Now, the maker, Dave, has assured me that he has carried this on flights, and his daughter has carried this on flights. And I believe, Dave, choke me if I'm wrong, but I want to say he created this for his daughter, or the idea of it anyway. So, though somebody had one of these confiscated on a flight, so once they figure out what this thing is designed for, it's probably going to get taken away from you. But it is not classified as a baton, so they do ship these to Europe. They do sell a lot of them over there because of the wonky, weird self-defense laws they have. So anybody have any questions about the Fast Track? Like I said, I used it for a while, carried it, and reviewed it for Dave when he was wanting to ask my feedback. Dave, the inventor, Dave Dufford. And I do like it. I think it could really, for someone that doesn't have a whole lot of skills, maybe could employ this pretty rapidly. If you go walking, you could have this on you, and maybe if you were attacked by a dog, this might be a good way to get an aggressive dog off of you. When we talked, he actually did have a human use, which worked out really well for the gentleman that used it to defend himself. It has been used a lot for, like I said, walking and for animals. Let's see if we got any comments here this morning. All right. James Vick, good morning, sir. We're up to 43. Fantastic. Almost at 50 live viewers once we do that. Maurice, good morning. Jocko, South Africa. How is sunny South Africa this morning? Noel says, seems like it would act more like a mace. It really truly is a whip. If you saw this thing in action, and please go check it out on YouTube. Dave has put some videos out there of him using this. And let me tell you something, man, it is, getting hit with this is going to hurt. But again, it's pain compliance. You have to rely on a subject that isn't under the use of drugs or other sort of intoxicants. And if they, it's just like Rodney King, folks. Rodney King was incredibly intoxicated. They thought he was on PCP. Toxicology turned out he was not, but that was their perception of the events as they unfolded, and that's why they used the level of force that they did to subdue him. 43 live viewers. Fantastic. Mr. Sam Day is on. Good morning, Sam. A lot of law enforcement officers, and if you're a law enforcement officer in the next couple minutes we got here, and you're very happy with impact weapons, let me know. It's something that I never saw, because we'll talk about pepper spray as a gadget at some point. Maybe we'll do that next week, or maybe we'll talk about another impact weapon next week. I think that there is some value to it, like the PR-24. It has some amazing things you can do with the PR-24 besides use it in a baseball bat configuration and swing on a suspect. But the use of impact weapons, they always look brutal. If I spray someone with pepper spray, they go, my eyes, and it's like the Wicked Witch from Wizard of Oz. They crumple to the ground, and we take them into custody, and it doesn't look very brutal. If I have to strike you into submission to get you to prone out so that I can put you in a resting position, take you into custody, it's going to look bad. Every swing of that impact weapon, whether they're justified or not. And if you look back at the Rodney King video, with the context of where are they striking him? Are they striking him on the large muscle groups? The back of the legs? They are. They're not striking the head. They're not striking to the joints. Watch the video again, and you'll say, oh, okay, well, the LAPD use of force at the time, as I understood it, was that striking those things was number one. You can go to the joints. You can even go to the head. You can go to the head if lethal force is authorized. So if you could shoot a suspect, you can strike him in the head with your baton. And they didn't strike him in the head with the baton, not that I can recall anyway. Anybody very happy with the impact weapon? Let's see where we're at here. Where, okay. SAPs work immediately. Okay. Does it lacerate your perp? And I think he's talking about the fast track. Let me tell you something. The literature on this Fast Track 2 Gen 2 model says that it will break fingers. That will happen. That's what they say. It can break the small bones in the face, but some of the bigger bones, probably not. I wouldn't ever want to find out from this guy. Let me tell you something. Watch the videos on YouTube and you'll see what I'm talking about. When this thing is swinging and that metal tip hits skin, oof, brutal. And I don't, there's one video where a martial arts instructor, if you can find it, he lets somebody give him a slight tap on the back and he crumples to the ground. And he's not affiliated with Fast Track, nor am I. I mean, they sent me a product. I reviewed it. I think it can definitely work for some folks. You got to remember proportionality. If another man with his empty hands attacks me and my level of training, my level of skill, and I decide to pull this out and start whipping him with it, I may lose proportionality. But that's something we'll have to ask Mr. Andrew Branca. And that's another thing. You have to understand scaling force and where using an item like the Fast Track falls in on use of force. And it gets kind of confusing. Alan Kelly, good morning, sir. Retired Virginia State Trooper, certified ASP, great tool if used per the training. I agree with you, and I really like my ASP, but I never had a reason to use it, but it was there on my tool belt in case I had to. Sam, also a law enforcement officer, never really used the baton, mostly to port a car window. No. Brett says supervisor failed to lead control use of force. He's talking about Stacy Kuntz, I believe, right, Brett? The sergeant at the time that was controlling the actions of the other officers. And yeah, I agree with you. Failure of leadership completely. And the city of Los Angeles paid for it with a $13.8 million reward. And then that stigma has stayed with law enforcement ever since. So not a good thing. All right, folks, let me talk to you. We're done with the Fast Track. I appreciate everybody's comments this morning. Let's talk about the training ball because we're running out of time, and I want to get you over there to watch Mr. Mike Seeklander when he goes live here in about 5 minutes. The training vault. I always like to close the show talking about the training vault. Now, all of our articles, like I talked to you about this morning, are free, but the training vault is actually for paid members only. We put that content in there for you. One of them is on empty hand skills. Now, one of the reasons I never used a baton is I've been in martial arts for about 30 years. I've been a bouncer for 4 years, Marine close combat instructor, defensive tactics instructor, blah, 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 blah. I'm saying all that to say I never felt justified in using a baton. I had it on me. It may have gotten used, but it just never did. So empty hands is something that you really, really need. In our training vault, we have a module on empty hands. We talk about striking. Excuse me. Talk about standing empty-handed. We talk about clinching empty-handed. We talk about all kinds of stuff. So you're definitely going to want to check that out in the empty hands module of the training vault. And thank you for everybody that came on this morning. We almost hit 50. I don't think we quite got it, but we'll be having this giveaway until we do. I'll be giving away the Gen 1 tumbler. Thanks everybody for joining me here on Coffee with Rich, and hope you can go to Rome someday and get your Ferrari mug like I did. But head on over there and watch Mr. Mike Seeklander for his AR, I believe, transition drills. You can find him on shootingperformance.com. Again, thanks for joining me. Coffee with Rich. Check out the American Warrior show. Check out AmericanWarriorSide.com. Until then, stay safe.